Shalom, Israel.
Yes, sir.
We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street, New York, under the commanding General Yohanna. I'm Christian Officer Card, this is Christian Officer. All right, and today we are about to begin the Sabbath service. All right, it's a medium. Okay, we're gonna move. Sir?
Allah, SHALAM to Israel.
Say, Mariam, when you have a done, which means to rise and face the east. Sir?
You want to say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew? Abano, Shabbat Shemayim, Badash, Ayah, Samka, Yahweh, Akwaka, Ba'a, Zaka, Ayah, I.S.U.P.K, Baratiza, Sawa, Ayah, Bashmayim, Batan, Nanawa, Akam, Kal, Yawam, Waselakno, Wakno, Kaselakno, Wakino, Wala'a, Tabino, Asawan, Abal, Oshaino, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Malakwa, Wala, Watapara, Alumium, Aman.
Also now in English, our Father,
which
art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh,
Thy kingdom come,
thy kingdom come, thy will be done,
in
earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this
our
day
daily bread.
our daily bread.
Forgive us our debts,
And forgive our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
And lead us
into
not
temptation,
into temptation,
deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
forever.
So be it.
So be it. We're going to say the Hakat, Yahweh, Hashem, Oshai, Abishah, Atanoah, Akat, Amakala, Akal Madawan, Akat, Atah, Atmazariam, Akat, Akoyam, Matayam, Akat, Ayakowat, Atmala, Lagarishim, Hashem, Oshai, Wadaman.
You see now in English is Yahweh,
Yahweh,
in the name of Yahushua, please give us the power.
He gave us the power
to heal.
The power to
One
heal.
man of sickness.
One man of sickness.
One man of disease.
One man of disease.
Power to cleanse the
Power to
leper.
cleanse the leper.
Power to raise the dead.
Power to raise the dead.
Power against unclean
Power
spirits.
against unclean spirits.
Cast them out.
Cast them out.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it. We're going to say, bless Israel, Yahweh, Hashem, Oshai, Rafanah, Rasharala, Abaya, Safarium, Barak, Rafa, Gun, Hashem, Oshai, the Wadaman.
Now in the English is Lord, in the name of Yahushua,
in the name of Yahushua,
bless us,
and
Israel,
and
the school,
bless,
heal,
shield,
protect us,
in
the name of Yahushua,
the name of Yahushua. Thank you.
So be it.
So be it. We're going to say Psalm 121, Ashaya, Ayanya, Al-Hayayam, Mayan, Yaba'a, Azaria, Mariam, Yahweh, Ashaya, Shamayam, Waratiza, Ayatan, Lamawat, Regalka, Alianawam, Shamarka, Ana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yashayan, Shamama, Yasharala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Bezalka, Adiyai, Shamalkai, Shamyanka, Yawamam, Ashamash, La'a, Yakalka, Wayarak, Bayala, Yahweh, Yashamalka, Makalrai, Yashama, Anashpaka, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Yashama, Tazalka, Tazatka, Wabawaka, Maita, Waid,
Iwalam. We don't see any English. Because I will lift up my eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help comes from the Lord. Which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
We can say Psalms 83. Al-Hayam, Al-Mayalaka, Al-Kashakwat, Wa'al, Tashakwat, Al-Kaya, Anna, Al-Wabayaka, Yahamam, Yawan, Ra'ish, Al-Makah, Ra'ira, Yamawa, Sawada, Wayata, Yaita the war, Aita the one I'm a war, Laka war, Waka, Adam, Magaba, Wala'a, Yasaka, Shamiashara, Iwada, Kaya, now what does the what? Laba, Yakawada, Ayaka, Bariat, Yakaratawa, Alahaya, Adawam, Waya, Shamai, Alahayam, Mababa, Wahagariam, Kabal, Wa'aymawan, Wa'aymalak, Pasakwat, Palashat, Aymashabia, Tazawa, Kamashawa, Lanawa, Ayman, Hayawa, Zawawai, Labanya, Lawat, Salah, Ashaya, Laham, Kamadian, Kasaya, Sarah, Kayabian, Banakal, Kawashwan, Nashamadwa, Bayan, Daira, Hayawa, the man, La Adamwa, Shana Tamwa, Nada, Yab Mawo, Kairam, Wakazabak, Wakazazal, Manai, Kalnasar, Kamwa, Asha, Amawo, Nayarasha, Lanawa, At, Nawat, Alahaya, Shaya Tamwa, Gangala, Kakwash, Lapanya, Rawak, Raka, Kakwash, Tabiaira, Riaira, Wakala Haba, Talahat, Harayam, Kantarapadma, Basaraika, Abasa, Wapadka, Tabahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Palawan, Waya Babaswa, Shamka, Yahawa, Yabaswa, Waya Bahala, Adiai, Waya, Karopawa, Waya, Abadwa, Waya, Daiwa, Kaya, Ata, Samka, Yahweh, Sabatka, Ayawan, and Kalaha Aratiza.
When we say in English, is keep not thy silent, O God, and hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, for lo, thy enemies make it to mock, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, in the name of Israel. There is no more remembrance. They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, and Moab, and Hagari, Baal, Amalek, and the Philistines, the inhabitants of Tyre, Asur, was also with them. They are whole children of Lot, Salah, do unto them, unto the Midianites, as to Sarah, as to Jabin, and the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor, came as down to the earth, made their nose like Oreb, like Zeb, yea, all their princes, as Zabar, and as Azaluna, who said, let's take to ourselves the house of God in possession. Oh my God, make them like a wheel, and to step it before the wind, as the fire burning the wood, as the flames set the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm, fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Lord, let them be confounded, and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, and the Most High, over all. Sir? Yeah, two. Shabia, which means to be seated. Today we'll continue reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 40 and verse 25. Waya Ilah, Hanarad, Lapania, Yahweh, Ka'asha, Tazawa, Yahweh, Atah, Masha, verse 26. Wayasham, Atah, Mazabah, Azahab, Ba'ahal, Mawa'ida, Lapania, Aparah, Kaya, verse 27. Waya Kwata, Aliyawa, Kwatara, Samayam, Ka'asha, Tazawa, Yahweh, Atah, Masha, verse 28. Wayasham, Atah, Masak, Apakath, Ka, Lamashakam, verse 29. Wa'atah, Mazabah, Hala'ai Laham, Salakia, Ha'ai Laha, Sham, Patak, Mashakan, Ahal, Mawa'aida, Waya'ila, Ailayawa, Ata, Ha'ailah, Wa'ata, Amanaka, Ka'asha, Tazawa, Yahweh, Ata, Masha, verse 30. Wayasham, Atta, Hakayar, Banya, Ahal, Mawa'aida, Wabayan, Hamazabak, Waya'atan, Shama, Mayam, Laraktaza, verse 31, Wakatazawa, Mamanawa, Masha, Aran, Banyawa, Atta, Yada Yaham, Atta, Ragala Yaham, verse 32, Baba Ama, Allah, Lahal, Mawa'aida, Wabakwara Batham, Allah, Hamazabak, Yarakazawa, Ka'asha, Tazawa, Yahawa, Atta, Masha. And that's equal 7.
Okay. 26.
From 25.
25. Right. Exodus chapter 40 and verse 25. And he lighted the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. Verse 26. And he put the golden altar in the tent of the congregation before the veil. Verse 27. And he burned sweet incense thereon, as the Lord commanded Moses. Verse 28. And he set up the hanging at the door of the tabernacle. Verse 29. And he put the altar of burnt offering by the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the meat offering, as the Lord commanded Moses. Verse 30. And he set the laver between the tent of the congregation and the altar upon, and put water there to wash withal. Verse 31. And Moses and Aaron and his son washed their hands and their feet thereat. Verse 32.
Yeah. Okay. Again, so once more we see in where, again, all these are instructions Moses is given so that he will be able, to set up the government structure and everything that is needed to create the culture of the nation of Israel. Remember, they just come out of Egypt, and everything is being put in place so that the nation of Israel can be a body that have laws, that have commandments, that have statutes that will be able to use to be able to govern the nation of Israel. So all these things are set up so that, you could see the functioning capacity of the nation of Israel. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and when you check back again, most of us making back everything like brand new back to the people, because what, so much time they spend in the hands of Egyptians and things, so much areas they don't know the culture. So most of bring back everything back new to them and things, like a new place to worship, bring back the laws and bring back the people back again together and let them know who it is and who he expected of the people.
So you continue reading. Book of Exodus, chapter 40 and verse 32. Baba Amal, Ahal, Mawa'aida, Baba Kwara, Rabatham, Hamazabak, Yarakatazawa, Ka'asha, Tazawa, Yahawa, Ata, Masha, verse 33. Wayakwam, Ata, Hakataza, Shabayab, Lamawa, Salakia, Lamashkan, Walama Zabak, Wayatan, Ata, Masak, Sha'ira, Hakatazar, Wayakal, Masha, Ata, Hamalaka, 4, Wayakasa, Hanana, Ata, La'ahal, Mawa'ida, Wakal, Bawad, Yahweh, Mala'a, Ata, Hamashakan, verse 35, Wala'a, Yakal, Masha, Labawa'a, Allah, Ahal, Mawa'ida, Kaya, Shakan, La Ailayawa, Hanana, Wakabawa, Yahweh, Mala'a, Ata, Hamashakan, verse 36, Wabaha Lawaf, Ha'ainaham, Hamashakan, Yasa'aiwa, Banya, Yasha'ala, Bakal, Masa'ai Naham, verse 37, Wa'aham, La'a, Ya'aida, Ya'aidalaha, Ha'ainana, Wala'a, Yasa'aiwa, Aida, Yawama, Ha'ailathawa, verse 38, Wakaya, Kaya, Ainana, Yahweh, Aila, Hamashakan, Yawamama, Wa'asha, Tahayaha, Layaha, Bawa, La'ai, Yanaya, Kal, Bayaf, Yeshu'ala, Bakal, Masa'ai, Yaham. I think that's it.
Exodus chapter 40 and verse 32. When they went into the tent of the congregation, and when they came near unto the altar, they washed as the Lord commanded Moses, verse 33. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacles and the altar, and set up hangings of the court gate. So Moses finished the work, verse 34. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacles, verse 35. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacle, verse 36. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went on was in all their journey, verse 37. But if the cloud were not taken up, then their journey not till the day that it was taken up.
That is right to the
38?
Yeah.
Verse 38. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys.
Christ. So we see in here, again, now where the temple is, or the work of the temple is more or less, the tabernacle is more or less complete. And we see here, 33 says, and he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court. So Moses finished the work. So the job that was set out, right? They got all the stuff inside, they make up all the different implements, they make everything that they needed, you understand, to get the tabernacle the way it was supposed to be at that time, right? And then after that, now the tabernacle, was set right, so the Most High's presence would have been there, right? And verse 34 says, "Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory filled the tabernacle." So not even Moses himself could have gone. But first, you understand, the glory of the Most High set upon that place that you cannot see nothing, it just engulfed everything. You understand? And as the Most High put in his word, stamp of approval on what was taking place. So if you want to add anything?
And this is just to show why we must this is just to show why we must fear the Most High and all, because you see what's going on here, the people there when they want to make a move and want to, and they say nah, boy. So let's imagine these simple things the Most High doing, and people are frightened. But let's again now if he really show young and he just more or less just coming to meet with Moses and people like, hey, nah, we are moving on till that go. The same way when you watch some of these animals, the Most High create and thing, watch something like a lion, watch something like a tiger, something like a hippo and all these things, and you see him, but wait now, how glorious these things, how dangerous these things is and thing, and the Most High create these things, and yet we China is just they want to disobey the Most High and thing, right? So let's show you that, hey, you know what? Let me come and keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments and thing, and obey the Most High we expect we to do, right?
Most interesting. As we continue the reading, right, the book of Leviticus, chapter 1 and verse 1. Wayakora Allah Masha Wayadaba Yahweh Alayawa Ma'ahaw Ma'aida La'ama. Verse 2. Daba Allah Banya Yasha'ala Wa Amara Alaham Ma'adam Kaya Yakorab Makam Koraban Laya Man Habakwa Waman Hataza'ana Takora Yabawa. Ata Korabanakam. Verse 3. Amma Ayla Korabani Nawa Man Habakwa Zaka Samayam Yakora Yabanawa Allah Pataka Ahal Mawaida Yadak Yakor Yab Atawa La Salakia La Ra Tazanawa La Panya Yahweh. Verse 4. Wasamak Yadawa Ayla Ra'asha Ha'ayla Wana Ra'taza Lawa Lakapa Ayla Yawa. Verse 5. Washakata Ata Banya Salakeban Habakwa Lapanya Yahweh Wahakora Yaba wa Banya Aran Hakaha Nawayam Ata Adam Wazara Kowa Ata Adam Ayla Hamazabak Sabanyab Asha, Patach, Ahal, Mawa Aida. Verse 6. Wahapa Shayakta, Ata, Ha'aila, Wanataka, Ata, Lanata Kaya. Verse 7. Wanata Nawa, Banya, Aharan, Hakahan, Asha, Ai, Hamazabah, Airakawa, Aitazawayam, La, Ai, Hana, Ha, Asha. Anyway.
Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 1. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacles of the congregation, saying, verse 2, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto the Most High, you shall bring your offering of cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. Verse 3, if his offering be a burnt off sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a meal without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntarily at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. Verse 4, and he shall put his hands upon the head of the burnt offering, and shall be accepted for him to make an atonement for him. Verse 5, and he shall kill the bullock before the Lord, and the priest Aaron's sons shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about the altar that is by the door of the tabernacles of the congregation. Verse 6, and he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into his pieces. Verse 7, and the son of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire.
So we see here once more, this is the structure now that the nation of Israel have, you understand, in carrying or bringing sacrifices, right, towards the Most High. And as you start to go deeper into the especially the book of Leviticus, this was like the foundation being set in the in the lawmaking, in the daily running of how things supposed to be when we living and dealing with one another. From in the book of Leviticus, you will see where you have the moral law, the civil law, the dietary law, you understand, and everything that is needed for the governance of the nation of Israel. So if you add anything.
Yeah, and that's what Officer Yakar was saying, this is the time now again, now when you watch it, they say, everything to do with your brother, your sister, and thing. I know, like, we might be in hard times and thing, right? So what's what the most I think, and he say, like, you go and get a go to, or go and get a lamb, and say, I take one without blemish and thing, right? So you're looking for the go to looking the best, and you bring it and things. So now we know we brothers and them in hard times and things. Some of them might walk food from you and things like they might have some food. Don't go and look to pick up the go on, they might want some lime or something. Go and look for the lime or looking rotten and look to take your brother and thing I say. So that's how the most I say look for the best and thing. So the same thing now with your brother and them or whatever animal they might they might have a chicken and thing. Don't go and look to you see a chicken will beat out and want to go and say you want to get the brother a chicken and thing. Get the brother a good chicken and thing, right? The same thing when you come into the fruits and everything, they look for the fruits and then look into tune and say, well, hey, you want to go and get the person, take that fruit to tune and go and make some wine, and you and your brother go and drink the wine after and thing, right?
Something good.
Yeah, give him something good.
Yeah, it's all about the brother. Most High Christ. As we continue reading in the book of Leviticus, chapter 1 and verse 8. Wa'ai rakawa banya ahara hakana nayam ata hanata kayam ata hara asha wa ata Hapada, I, I Tazayam, Asha, I, Asha, Asher, I, Hamazabak, verse 9, Wakara, Bawa, Wakara, Ya Iwa, Ya, Salakia, Wakara, I, Yawa, Yaraka, Taza, Bamayam, Wahakwa Taraya, Hakanaya, Salakia, Hakana, Ata, Hakal, Hamazabak, Aya, Asha, Rayaka, Nayaka, Wayaka, La Yahawa, verse 10, Wa Amma, Man, Hatazana, Naha, Parabanawa, Man, Haka Shabayam, Awa, Mana, Ha'ai Zayam, La'ailaha, Zaka, Tamayam, Yakora Yaban Nawa, verse 11, Washakata, Atawa, Al, Yaraka, Hamazabak, Tazapana, Lapanya, Yahawa, Wazarakawa, Banya, Hakahanawa, Salakia, Hanayam, Ata, Damawa, Ay, Hamazabak, Sabayab, verse 12, Wanataka, Wa'atawa, Lanata Kayawa, Wa'ata, Rashawa, Wa'adarawa, Wa'airak, Hakana, Atam, Al, Ha'ai Tazayam, Ashar, Al, Ashar, Al, Hamazabah, verse 13, Wahakwaba, Wahakara Ayam, Yaraka Taza, Bamayam, Wahakwa Tazab, Wahakwa Rayaba, Hakanan, Akahan, Ata, Akal, Waha, Kwataya, Hamazabak, Al, Hawa'a, Asha, Rayaka, Nayakaka, La Yahaw, verse 14, Wa'amma, Munna, Ha'ai, Wapa, Ai, Parabanyawa, La Yahaw, Wa Aquarab, Munna, Hatarayam, Wa'a, Selaki Awa, Munna, Banya, Hayawan, Agta, Quaraban Nawa. That's it.
Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 8. And the priest Aaron's son shall lay the parts of the head and the fat in order upon the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar, verse 9, but his inwards and his legs shall he wash in the water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High. Verse 10. And if his offering be of the flock, namely of the sheep or of the goat, a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it in meal without blemish. Verse 11. And he shall kill it on the side of the altar northwards before the Lord. And the priest, Aaron's sons, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar. Verse 12. And he shall cut it into his pieces with his head and his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar. Verse 13. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs within with the water, and the priest shall bring it all the burnt it on the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High. Verse 14. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowl, then he shall bring his offering of the turtle doves or of the young pigeons.
Right, so we see here again the same aspect of everything being put in place. So it letting us know, or Moses giving the instruction of exactly how these things are supposed to be laid down, exactly how they're supposed to be set. Can I hear anything?
And then after now again, now you see when you start again from Leviticus and now you see who the Most High talking to again. They were from since there's one people right when the New Testament to the children of Israel and thing. Nobody else. So how people could come to say, you know what, this book is about everybody. All we make the blood all we doing the sacrifices, all we talking to. And I think it's one people. And then after now, when you check back all the who they get the laws, and even when they're coming back to the sacrifices again now, you're seeing it's the same lawful animals and all too again. So how come we moving from eating lawful animals with unlawful animals and again and when you check out the whole world, the whole world now about unlawful animals and thing with the most side, no, they not eat we majority of people eating it and thing, right? So again now you're seeing everything here. We call you see the sheep, you call the goat and thing, right? Then after we go to the birds and all to see again the same thing, the pigeon and all kind of things too, right?
Now, so like Professor Adway is saying, all these are again clean animals. You understand that being sacrificed. So even then, you understand this is Leviticus 1. The whole aspect of clean and unclean wasn't stated until Leviticus 11. You understand? So even back then, they knew what they were supposed to do. You understand? Even the clean and unclean, and everything was just more or less put in place. And the sons of Aaron, or the ones to help minister unto the nation of Israel. Right, so we continue the reading. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 1 and verse 15. Wahakwa Wayabawa Hakahan Allah Amazaba wa Malakwa Ata Ashawa Wahakwa Taya Amazaba Wanamataza Amawa Al Koyara Amazaba, verse 16. Wahasaya Ata Ma'atawa Banatizah wa Wahashalayaka Ata Atazahal Salakia Atazal Mahazabah Kwadamash Kwadam Allah Makowam Ha Dasham verse 17 Washa Sa'ai Atawa Baka Napayawa La'a Bayadayal Wahakwa Taya Atawa Hakahan Hama Zabak Al Hatazayam Asha Al Ha'asha Ayla Hawa'a Asha Rayaka Nayakaka La Yahawa. This is the book of Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 1. Manapash Kaya Takorayab Koraban Manaka La Yahawa Salah Hayaha Korabanawa Wayatazakwa Ailiyaha Shaman Wanatan Ailayaha Labana verse 2 Wahaba Ya'ah Allah Banya Aharan Kahanayam Wakwamataza Masham Mala'a Kwamatazawa Masalaf Wamashaman Ay Kal Labanath Wahakwa Taya Hakahan Ata Azakara Hamazabak Asha Rayaka Nayakaka La Yahawa verse 3 Wahana Watharaf Mana Hamanak La'aran Walabanyawa Kodashiam Ma'ashaya Yahawa verse 4 Wakaya Takwara Koraban Manaka Ma'apa Tanawo Salah Kalawaf Matazata Balawala Bashaman Warakwa Yakwaya Matazawaf Mashakaya Bashaman.
Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 15. And the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out on the side of the altar. Verse 16. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes. Verse 17, and he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Verse 2, Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 1. And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon. Verse 2, and he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, and he shall take thereout his handful of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar, to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Most High. Verse 3, and the remnants of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offering of the Most High made by fire. Verse 4, and if thou bring an oblation of a meat offering baken in the oven, it shall be on 11 cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, or on 11 wafers anointed with oil.
So we're seeing here now, finishing at the end of chapter 1, where, again, it's showing how the sacrifices is supposed to be made, whether it be the animals in terms of the sheep or the goat, and then you're showing also what you should do with the bird, how you should do it, pluck out the feathers, pluck out the crop. For those who understand, the crop is the stomach of the bird, right? That is the part where it is chew and grind up all these stuff that they eat. They take out that and the feathers. You understand? That is verse 16. I said, and he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers. So you're plucking all the feathers of the bird, you're taking all the crop, right? That is part of the inside, right? And they say, cast it besides the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes, right? So you're throwing away that part, and the other part, which is the other, or the flesh of the bird, you use that as part of the sacrifice. As well as when you look into, in chapter 2, it's showing you where, again, when you're making the sacrifice, verse 2 says, and it's like verse 3, they say the remnant of the meat. So when you bring this animal for the sacrifice, and you cut off the parts that was needed, and you cut it up, and you make the offering, you understand, the remaining of that meat, the remaining of that was what? Supposed to be for the sons of Aaron, so that they would be able to what? Have something to eat, right? So all that was also part of the brotherhood and the maintenance of the sons of Aaron and also the Levite priests, because they didn't have no inheritance. Their job was to minister unto the people, so they could not go and work like a regular job, right? The work that they would do, that was their job. I said, if you had anything.
Yeah, and that's right. We're seeing so and all to when coming back to with the we say the remnants of the priesthood. That kind of showing you again how when coming to that priesthood, with when you see the Most High priest and them on the earth and thing, now you see when you watch them men like Creflo. So now they're showing you again like these men and them they're not like the other men and them who serve in the Most High and thing. Right. These men and them do have flocks, cattle and then after vineyards, grapes and all these things, and then because why them dedicate their life now to serving the Most High, and then after dedicate their life to get people thing, right? So when you watch these men and them tell you one thing, right? That's showing you how these men is, and when you watch these men tell you like Creflo Dollar, TD Jakes and them, right, and the rest of them, you're seeing again and know about the Most High and again really about the gain of the world and all kind of thing, right? And know about the Most High work and thing. And see now all these scriptures are right. We see how I don't know they go take the rest and get to the priest and them, because really and truly don't have it whether these men them really sacrifice themselves to really come and teach the children of Israel and thing and how to serve the Most High, right?
Yeah, Most High Christ. And so we continue the reading in the book of Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 5. Wa'amma manaka hamaka kabaf wakara parabanaka salaf balawala bashaman mataza'a tahaya. Verse 6. Patayam wayataza qaf Ilayaha Shaman Manaka Hawa'a. Verse 7. Wa'amma Manakah Maraka Shaf Kwarabanaka Salat Bashaman Aisha. Verse 8. Wahaba Ata Hamanaka Ashar Ya Aisha Ma'ala La Yahawa Wahakwa Rayab Allah Hakana Wahaga Yasha Allah Hamazabak. Verse 9. Wahariyam Hakam Mana Hamanaka Atha Azakarath Wahakwa Tiya Hamatazabak Asha Rayaka Nayakaka La Yahawa. Verse 10. Wahana Wathara Mana Hamanaka Laharan Walabanyawa Qadashiyam Ma'ashaya Yahawa. Verse 11. Ka Hamanaka Asha Aquaraya Boa La Yahawa La'a Aisha Kamataza Kaya Kal Shara Wakal Dabash La'a Fakwara Yarawa Mamanawa Asha La Yahawa.
Exodus chapter 2 and verse 5. And if thy oblation be a meat offering, baken in a pan, it shall be of fine flour unleavened, mingled with oil. Verse 6. Thou shalt part it in pieces and pour oil thereon. It is a meat offering. Verse 7. And if thy oblation be a meat offering, baken in the frying pan, it shall be made of fine flour with oil. Verse 8. And thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto the Most High, and when it is present unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar. Verse 9. And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto the Most High. Verse 10. And that which is left of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offering of the Mosai made by fire. Verse 11, no meat offering which you shall bring unto the Mosai shall be made with leaven, for you shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of the Lord made by fire. Verse 12.
No,
Verse 11. All right, no sin.
Most in Christ. So we see here now. I mean, when you look at it, even when they were making an offering to the Lord, right? When you actually listen and you read carefully to what is being described, we had barbecue and fried chicken. You understand? And this was an offering made to the Lord as the Most High. So we see here, verse 5 says, and if thy oblation be a meat offering baken in a pan, it shall be of fine flour, unleavened, mingled with oil. Right? So you're baking this offering, this meat offering. It should have no leaven in it. Right? As you know, the leaven is some things like yeast and other agents that help, raising agents. Right? I recently had the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but we had no leavening agents in our house, no baking soda, no baking powder, no yeast or anything like that, right? As well as any other products that contain those things, fries and pasta, those kind of stuff, and cakes and stuff, right? And verse 7 says, and if thy oblation be a meat offering baken in a frying pan. So one was a baking pan, so you bake it, you understand? As we know, we call it baked chicken, you understand? Or in this case, they say if it be baken in a frying pan, so you have fried chicken. They say it shall be made of fine flour with oil. You understand? So it's some KFC couldn't come wrong. You understand? And this is what was presented to the priest, to the men of the Lord, and they were supposed to take a portion of that as a part of the sacrifice. I think verse 8 says, and thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto the Lord, and when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar, right? And verse 9 says, and the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire, a sweet savor unto the Lord. So whatever you brought, whether it be that baked chicken, that fried chicken, whatever you bring, fine stuff mingled with oil and flour, right? The priest would take part of that, put it on part of that burnt offering to the Lord. That was your offering. And the rest, as I say in verse 10, it says, and that which is left of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord made by fire. Right? So this was something special. This wasn't just a fly-by-night stuff. Whatever was done, it was done as a particular way. And the remains that was brought was there to help feed the men who were conducting the service. You understand? Who were killing all the animals, who did all the work of the tabernacle at that time. But they didn't have time to go so-called one food. You understand? So all this was part of the process of helping on both ends. So if you add anything?
Yeah, and when you go out if you say right, you talk about them so the nation Israel had chefs, right? Chefs and bakers and things. So we don't let no whoever no nation tell you that we just come out from Africa with the strings and things and no clothes and things, and the white man do we are good and things. But when you go to the whole history of the book here, you see in the records all the different things we are doing and things. So you see again as I see when you talk about fried chicken, you see how fried chicken come out and things, and bacon and you're talking about wafers and all kind of things. So where wafers come out from the children of Israel, fried chicken we come out from the white thing. So don't let any other nation tell you blacks, Hispanics and think that the white man saved, the white man do we are good. No, the white man destroy we because we had all these economies and things, right, as a nation and thing, right?
Yeah, man, Muslim Christ, man. As we continue the reading. and the book of Leviticus. Okay. Chapter 2 and verse 12. Korban Ra'ashaya Takwa Sokarya Bawa Atham La Yahweh Wa Allah Amazabak La'a Ya'ailawa La Rayak Nayakaka verse 13. Wakal Korban Amaka Manaka Taka Bamalak Samalak Wala'a Sashabayah Malak Ba'arath Baryath Alahayaka Ma'ila Manaka Tiyak Salakia Manaka Tiyak Taka Aila Lakal Parabanaka Sakorayab Malaka verse 14. Wa Amma Sakwa Rayab Manakath Pakawa Rayam La Yahweh Abayab Kwalawaya Ba'asha Garash Karamal Sakorayab Ata Manakath Bakawarakya verse 15. Wanatata Aliyaha Shaman Washamath Aliyaha Labana Manakah Hawa'a verse 16. Wahakwata Taya Hakana Salakia Hakahan Hata Azakara Magarash Wamashamana Aya Kal Wanayah Ashar La Yahweh. The book of Leviticus chapter 3 and verse 1. Wa'ama Zabak Shalamayam Korabanawa Ama Mana Habakwa Hawa'a Makorayab Zakah Ama Nakoba Tamayam Yakwaraya Banawa Lapanya Yahweh. Verse 2. Wasamak Yadawa Aila Ra'asha Parabanawa Washakat Tawa Patak Hahal Mawa'aida Wazara Kwa Banya Aharan Hakanayam Ata Adam Al Amazabak Sa Bayab.
Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 12. As for the oblation of the first fruits you shall offer them unto the Most High, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor. Verse 13. And every oblation of thy meat offering shall thou season with salt, neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of the Most High to be lacking from thy meat offering. With all thy offering thou shalt offer salt. Verse 14. And if thou offer a meat offering by thy first fruits unto the Most High, thou shalt offer for the meat offering of thy first fruit green ears of corn dry by the fire, even corn beaten out of full ears. Verse 15. And thou shalt put oil upon it, and lay frankincense thereon it. It is a meat offering. Verse 16. And the priest shall burn the memorial of it, part of the beaten corn thereof, and part of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof. It is an offering made by fire unto the Most High. Leviticus chapter 3 and verse 1. And if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before the Most High. Verse 2. And he shall lay his hands upon the head of his offering, and kill it at the door of the tabernacles of the congregation. And Aaron's son, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about.
All right, so we're seeing once more, again, all the instructions, everything that is needed for the operation and the function, and it's showing how and why you're doing the offering, to the Most High at that time, and what is even interesting, you see, even if you bring in your obligation, right? That is verse chapter 2 and verse 12, right? They say, as for the oblation of the first fruit, ye shall offer them unto the Lord, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor, right? They say, and every oblation of thy meat offering shall be thou seasoned with salt, neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy meat offering. Understand, with all thy offerings thou shalt offer salt, right? So you know, when you're making this thing, you're making this offering, make sure the thing seasoned good. You understand? Because this offering, the Aaron's son, you understand, these men will be eaten. So this thing had to taste good. You understand? All these are different things that, as you could see, was entrenched in our culture, to really season and to prepare things properly. When you look at the difference between us as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians and the other nations, it's disgusting to see these nations take raw chicken out of the pack and just rest it in a pot of water to cook out or put it to fry. They didn't even wash it. You understand? They didn't take any time to even do something as simple as that, much less seasoning. You understand? And that clearly shows the difference between our people and the other nations. So if you add anything.
Yeah, and you see, as we started reading, we started laughing because you know exactly these people, and it's people really doing these things here, and they're putting it all in the cooking shows and keeping competitions and things, and you're really seeing so the most I said something and say, well, hey, anytime you go in and season you season with your put salt, you put your salt and things in it, and people now coming and that's right, this one having competition, they're taking meat. Just so no seasoning, no salt, and just boiling it just one. And after coming and tell you sprinkle and look salty and sprinkle the salt and thing in the meat and thing, and you see the madness. And then after now when you watch yourself now, so there's the trick right now to say you might have your lawful animals and thing, but the same thing now the most I get lawful thing, but also now get other things how to deal with it and how to. So if you follow it, you might have a lawful animal regular and thing, but if you don't do the right preparation right now, how the most I say how to deal with it now, you could get sick with the lawful animal and all too with the most I set up and all to say by all right again, the you just follow your instructions the Mosai give you, so in that way we go be in an order and all too with the Mosai, with myself and all too, and not defiling my body and all too. And all too. Because we could defile the body with lawful things if we do set it up the right way. Just like when we have like a goat and thing. If that goat is under a goat is a lawful animal, a lamb is a lawful animal, a cow is a lawful animal. Or if that cow under nurture under the mother and again milk from that mother still, we can't go and take the animal to cook it and eat. We have to, when that animal move away from the mother, then we can go and eat the animal. So the same thing now coming to them lawful animals when the Mosai set up that hey, here going on. Deal with that with salt and seasoning and thing and eat it and thing. Don't deal with that how you see the white man having all these cooking competition and sprinkling thing and waiting, and then after you want to know what we're getting pain in your body and all them things, because why you're not following the scriptures and thing, right? You black man, Hispanics and Native Indians, right?
Yeah, so add some quickly to that. We're saying that even drinking blood and having blood in them different things. We don't deal up with that. You understand? Lawful animal, you kill it, you drain the blood. You understand? We don't eat or drink the blood of any animal. You understand? What I clean or unclean, that is not lawful for the nation of Israel. So there are a lot of different things. We can't eat sick animals, even if it's lawful eat animals sick. You understand it? Or if it die of itself, you understand? You happen to come and you see your cow lie down dead in the field. It's your cow, but not because it's your cow and lie down dead. You just pick it up and go and eat it just so. You understand? Because all these are different laws that we have for the nation of Israel. But if we see our cow dead in the field, the Most High did say that we could sell the heathen that. You understand? But we're not supposed to eat it. If they want to eat it, no sweat. Come and give me $10 a pound and take it and go. You understand? But we are not supposed to eat anything that looks sick or died of itself, because why? There's something special. We are special. We are separate. You understand? We are not like the other nations. We are not to operate or function as these nations. Right? So you good day?
Yeah, man. That's why we say when you watch when you watch time now we brother them when I say that we don't we nation and we don't want to watch these are when you go back to the curses and thing when the most I say crucial be there in the field and we basket and we store that thing, right? So when you watch some of we brothers when they do walk and thing and watching the animals, that's how 2 goat, 3 goat and when you watch the other nation is a field of goat, a whole flock, a herd going down the road. And when you watch it, brother, I say where the goat one of the goat might be suffering, or the cow might be looking like it want to go through, and you feel them they all hard times and things, they're going to mash up that cow and go and sell it to their own brothers and things because of the hard times doing. So you see what again now what happening and all too because being the Mosai laws and all too. So even in your own righteousness and all too, we're going against we're going against the things of the Mosai say, and we're still going against now and looking to give we brother and we sister it and all too.
Yep. Musa encouragement. Alright, and with that we say Madium. This brings us to the end of the service. Okay. Sir?
Shout to Israel.
Yeah. Madium, on your foot down, send your right hand face to the east. Sir?
This is our Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanawa, Sabashamayam, Padash, Baya, Samka, Yahweh, Lakoka, Aba'a, Atazaka, Aya, Aisha, Baratiza, Kawa, Aya, Bashamayam, Matan, Danoa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Basalak Noah, Kawak Noah, Asalak Noah, Kawak Noah, Wala'a, Tabia Noah, Basayawan, Bal, Oshai Noah, Ayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Malakwa, Wa'ala, Watapara, Wa'alomium, Man.
In English, you just say, Our Father,
Father,
Child in heaven,
Hallowed
be thy name,
and be thy name,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come,
thy kingdom
thy
come,
will be done,
thy will be done,
in earth,
as
as it is in heaven,
it is in heaven.
Give us this day,
Give us this
our
day
daily bread,
our daily bread,
forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
forgive our debtors,
and we forgive our
lead
debtors,
us not
and lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
deliver us from evil,
deliver us from evil.
thine is the kingdom,
Thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
forever.
So be it.
So be it. We're going to say the Haka, Yahweh,
Hashem,
Bashem, Oshai, Bukasha, Natanawa, Akat, Apa, Akan Mokala, Wakan Madawan, Akat, Ata, Atimrodarium, Akat, Akoyam, Matayam, Akat, Ayakowat, Atimalala, Lagarishin, Bashem, Oshai, Tawaraman.
Now in English is Yahweh,
Yahweh,
name of Yahushai,
name of Yahushai,
give us the power,
give us the power
to heal,
all
all manner of sickness, all manner of disease, power to cleanse the leper, power to raise the dead, power against unclean spirits, power to cast them out, name of Yahushai. Thank you.
So be it. We're going to say the blessed Israel, Yahweh, Hashem, Oshai, Rakanawa, Rashala, Abayat, Zaparium, Barak, Wapa, Agan, Hashem, Oshai, Tawaraman.
Now in English, you said, Lord, in the name of Yahushai,
Lord, in the name of Yahushai,
bless us, and Israel,
and
the school,
bless,
heal, protect,
loved one,
name of Yahushai.
Thank you.
So be it.
We say Psalms 121, Ashaya, Ayanya, Alhayoyam, Mayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Mayam, Yahweh, Asha, Aisha, Shamayam, Waratas, Ayatan, Amawat, Galka, Alyanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yasan, Samoma, Yasha, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Adiyai, Yamka, Yamyamka, Yawam, Ashamash, La'a, Yakalka, Wayarak, Bayala, Yahweh, Yashamalka, Bakalirai, Yashama, Anaspoka, Yahweh, Yashama, Tazalka, Wabawaka, Maita, Waib, Iwolam.
Now in English, I will lift up my eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord. Which made heaven and earth. You will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in. This time forth and even forevermore.
We can say Psalm 83. Alahayam, Aldamayalaka, Altashakwat, Alkaya, Na, Awayabaka, Yahamam, Yawan, Rash, Al-Malka,
Al-Maka,
Ra'aira,
Yaira,
Yamawa,
Yamawa,
Sawada,
Sawada,
Wayata,
Wayata,
Ya'aita Zawa,
Yaita Zawa,
Aita Zawanka,
Aita Zawa,
Amawa,
Amawa,
Lakawa,
Akawa,
Waka, Aka Yadam,
Wanakayadam,
Magawa,
Magawiya,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Yazaka,
Yazaka,
Shamashara,
Shamish'al,
Aiwada,
Iwada,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Nawa, Atazawa,
Nawaita Zawa,
Laba,
Laba,
Yakawada,
Yakaro,
Ayaka,
Ayaka,
Bariyat,
Maria,
Yaka, Ra, Nicaragua,
Yakaratwa,
Alahaya,
Alahaya,
Idawam,
Adawam,
Wayashamai,
Weshamai,
Alahayam,
Alayam,
Mababa,
Mawa'aba,
Wagariam,
Wahagarayam,
Kabal,
Jabal,
Waimawan,
Ma'aywan,
Waimalak,
Ma'aymalak,
Pashalat,
Palashat,
Palashat,
Amishabia,
Amishabia, Tazawa,
Tazawa,
Damashawa,
Damashawa,
Nanawa,
Nalawa,
Imam, Ayawa,
Ayawa,
Zarawai,
Zarawai,
Lapanyalat,
Labanyalawat,
Salah,
Salah,
Ashalahalam,
Ashahayla,
Kamadian,
Kamani,
Kasera,
Asaya,
Sarah,
Sarah,
Kayabian,
Yabian,
Banakal,
Akab,
Kashawan,
Kawashwan,
Kayashwan, Nashamaradwa,
Nashamarwa,
Bayanwa,
Bayana,
Adaira,
Daira,
Hayawa,
Ayawa,
the man, La Adamo,
Ladama,
Sayatamwa, Nada,
Nada,
Yamawa,
Yamawa,
Kairab,
Kairab,
Wakazabak,
Wakazaba,
Wakazabak,
Wakazaba,
Wakazazal,
Wakazab,
Manai,
Nan,
Kail Nasa, Yak, Kamwa,
Palnasia Kamwa,
Ashaya,
Asha,
Amawa,
Amaro,
Naya Rasha,
Russia,
Nanawa,
Lanawo,
At, Nawat,
Nawa,
Alahayam,
Alahayam,
Alahaya,
Alahayam,
Shayatamwa,
Yatamwa,
Gangala,
Gangala,
Kakwash, Lapanya Waka,
Lapanera,
Kaish,
Kaash,
Tabaira,
Tabaira,
Raira,
Yaira,
Wakal,
Wakab,
Lahabadia,
Lahaban,
Talahat,
Talaha,
Harayam,
Arayam,
Kanta Rabadma,
Antarapadma,
Basaraika,
Basaraika,
Babasa,
Babasa,
Wapatka,
Patka,
Tabahalam,
Tabahala,
Mala'a,
Mala'a,
Panyaham,
Panyaham,
Palawan,
Palawan,
Waya,
Ya,
Abaswa,
Mapashwa,
Shamka,
Shamka,
Yahawa,
Yahawa,
Yabaswa,
Yabashwa,
Waya,
Oya,
Bahalwa,
Bahalo,
Adiai,
Maria,
Waya,
Oya,
Karpamwa,
Kaparwa,
Waya,
Oya,
Adabwa,
Adabo, Abalo,
Abalwa, Waya,
Oya,
Daiwa,
Daiwa,
Kaya,
Oya,
Ata,
Ata,
Shamka, Yahawa, Labadka,
Labadka,
Ayawan,
Ayawan,
Alka, Ayaratiza.
Akaha, Aratisa. We say in English, let's keep not thy silent, O God.
Keep not silent, O God.
And hold not thy peace.
And hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O
Be not
God.
still, O God.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. And consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. And the name of Israel, no more remember. For they have consulted together. One consent. They are confederate against the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarim, Baal, Ammon, and the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre, Asur, is also joined with them. They have opened the chain of blood. Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, and the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They came as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, like Zeb. Yea, all their princes, as Zabah, and as Aluna, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession. Oh my God, make them like a wheel, like a stubble before the wind, as a fire burneth the wood, as the flame set the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, make them afraid with thy storm, fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High over all the earth. Sir? Men of Israel, let's give 156 salute. Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shabbat Katah.
Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shabbat Katah.
Yamata, class dismissed.